Yeah, in the last class we covered if else condition, and like there were many examples which we covered. We covered variables as well, then we covered operators, different operators like arithmetic operators, assignment operators and all. So today I'll be continuing with wherever we left. So one of the conditional statement which is left is there is one more conditional statement which is switch statement. Okay, so the other one which we covered was if else condition, where we can have nested if else, normal if else. Okay, and based on this scenario, you have to choose what kind of if else condition you will be putting on. So for that, I have given few of the examples. We covered few here and few were there in the assignment. So if you have any questions in any assignment, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll review your assignment by today and will revert by mail as only. Okay. Today I'll be starting with switch case statement. So let's start. Let me create another package. So let me name it, let's say switch case statement. Okay, for now we'll keep this public static void main checked. Okay, so in this case, uh, what is switch case? Like in if else condition, what we were getting, let's say if number of conditions are increasing, then every time you have to add one if condition, then an else part, and then you will continue. Okay, sometimes what happens is there is a long list of conditions, okay, which gets fulfilled through one single criteria. Okay, so if that is the case, then you can use switch case statement. Say for example, I'm saying let's talk about day of week. Okay, say for example, I'm saying there is a variable called int and I call it day, and here I'm saying day equal to some value, maybe 1, maybe 2, and something, some value. Okay, now based on the number of days starting from 0, let's say if day is 0 then it's a Sunday, if day is 1 then it's a Monday, and so on. This is the case. Okay, so what I'll put, I'll use, if I have to use if else condition, then what will I do? I'll say if day equal to 0, then you will say it's a Sunday, right? Uh, for the first time, it always go not responding mode. Okay, so here I'll say it's a Sunday, right? If again you have to put next condition, then you'll put else if, and then next condition, and so on. So there will be 7 condition in this case. Okay, now in case of switch case, what we'll do, we'll say switch, there is this last one, switch case statement. This one you have to choose, the last one. You'll say switch, then in the bracket it is asking for one key. That key can be anything. It can be one variable, it can be an arithmetic expression, it can be an algebraic expression, and anything. Okay, now whatever will be the value of this key, and if that value matches one of the case, let's say I'm saying case 0, then here you can do whatever you want. Say for example, I'm here saying it's a Sunday. Okay, now I'll copy this case, okay, and we'll paste it again. Here let's say I'm saying case 1. You cannot add two case with same value because it will be like duplicate. it will be duplicate condition for here. Okay, here if I hover, it is saying duplicate case, right? So if I change it to 1, here it will be it's a Monday. Okay, and so on. Like this, all these values will get repeat. This will be case 2, this will be case 3. So it will be case 4, it will be case 5, it will be case 6, and done. So here I can say Wednesday, then Thursday, and then it will be a Friday, and here it will be a okay. So I'm done. Now there is one more case called default. So if by chance any one of the above does not match. Okay, so here let's say I put 9 or I put 7. Okay, that does not matches here. So then it will go to default. Okay, so here I'll say system.out.println, and here I'll say not a perfect day. Okay, so this is the case. So this is how you will write switch case statement. Now this can be anything. This can be an algebraic expression. Say for example, I can put like this, day plus 3. Okay, or I can say day plus 7. Anything. You can have any expression here. It can be a variable. It can be an arithmetic expression. It can be anything here. Whatever you are putting here, whatever key is put here, any matching value with respect to case will be executed. Okay, so for example here I'm saying day equal to -4. Okay, so day equal to -4 means -4 plus 7 will become 3, so the matching case will become 3. Okay, see how it works. Let me just execute it. Right click, run as Java application. So you can see it's a Wednesday is printed. So this case got executed, this case. Okay. Now one more thing I want to show you here, that what happens if we don't have this break. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just remove all these breaks. Okay, I've removed all the breaks. Okay. Now let's execute this. Right click, run as Java application. You will see that not only Wednesday but all the others are also getting printed. So remember that in the case of switch case statement, if you don't have a break, then whatever case matches after that, all the conditions get print. Okay, so if this case 3 is executed, okay, so if it's a Wednesday is printed, I mean this case is executed, then all the remaining will also get executed. Okay, clear this point? I'll show this in debug mode as well. See here, I'll put a switch debug point here. Okay, let's run this in debug mode. So right click, run as, sorry, debug as Java application. Okay, so here you can see the variable day has a value -4. Okay, here it's -4, and here we have 7. So 7 minus 4 will be 3. So when I execute this case, you can see that I got to case 3 because the value was 3. Okay, but now as there is no break, okay, when I execute the statement again, it will go to the next case. We'll print the next case here. Okay, it will print the next case, and then again next case, and then even default will be executed, and so on. Okay, so this is the case when you don't have a break statement. If I add the break again, then let's see what happens. So again, I'll execute it in debug mode. Right click, debug as Java application. So here in this case, again the day value is -4. -4 plus 7 is 3. So when I execute this, you can see this, I am in case 3. I'll execute this, see it is going to break. And now what break will do? Break will break this case and will come out. Okay, so as we come out, it just come out of that switch case statement and it's out. Now if I execute it only, it's a Wednesday is printed. So when you have a break, then that particular case gets execute. If you don't have a break, then all the conditions matching after that case, after the matching case, will get executed. Okay, everything after the matching case will be executed. Any questions here?
So what is the difference between if else and switch case?
Okay, so the difference will be both is like for same thing, but yeah, here the condition will be only one. Okay, it results in multiple options. Like here, I have this condition day plus 7, which results in multiple cases. In if else, you have the flexibility of not only one condition, you can have any condition. Okay, maybe day plus 7 is first condition, day plus 3 is second condition, or some other variable. Based on some other variable, you're putting some other condition. So that's the flexibility you get in if else. But if there is a requirement where based on one condition you're getting multiple scenarios, then it's better to use switch case. So switch case will not give you everything, but in such a case when you are getting multiple cases based on one single condition, then you can use this switch case. Getting the
Got
point?
it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's all in switch case. You can have anything like not only integer, you can have a string variable as well. So here if I say day as string variable, and when you pass string values, so your case will also become string. Okay, so that's the case. Even you can have a boolean. So but in case of boolean, you will have only two cases, true and false. You can have any data type here, you can have any object here. Yeah, so that's all about switch case. Okay, next topic which I'll be starting is arrays. Okay, so we are done with the conditional statements. Okay, there are many other operators also we have seen. So there are few more which are left in operators that we'll see now in arrays. Okay, so let me start with array. Okay, array examples. Okay, so Jason, I have this question. Do you know about array? Anything about array?
I don't remember it now.
Okay,
I've studied it long.
okay, fine. So what is this array? Array is it's a okay. I guess Abhilasha has also joined. A letter has joined. Then I'll start. Hey Abhilasha, can you hear us? Abhilasha, can you hear me? Okay, no problem. So I was just starting with arrays now. Okay, so let me start with this arrays, and then at the end I'll just give you a recap of whatever you have missed. Okay, so yeah, I was just starting with arrays. What is an array? Um, array is a data type which can store multiple homogeneous values. When I say homogeneous means same kind of values. Okay, see, till now, whatever examples you have seen, I've used multiple uh, variables in it. Okay, so in all the examples, the number of variables were less, like 2, 3, maximum of 4. So I was just defining them separately. But what if I have a requirement where I want to store some 100 values or 200 values? Then I'm not going to create one variable for each value, right? That will be a very tedious task. It will be very difficult for me to maintain the variables as well. Like deciding their name and everything will become very difficult, right? So in that case, every programming language provides us one way where we can store multiple data. Okay, and that is known as arrays. I'll start with a very basic example of an array. Okay, so arrays uh, can be like it can be of any data type. It can be of integer, it can be of string. Okay, so we'll start with integers and then we'll see others as well. Now there are two ways to define an array. One is a static way of defining array, and second one is dynamic way. So first let's see that static way and then we'll go to dynamic one. So in static array, I'll define like this: int. There are again two ways. Either you can say int a square bracket and then name of the array, okay, or you can say simple int and then arr, I mean whatever you name you're giving, and then square bracket. So both are correct. Defining like this, okay, defining like the above way or defining like the below way, both are correct. Okay. Now, like when I was defining any integer variable, then I was just simply saying int first number or second number, and it was done. Okay. Why? I mean, when I said int first number, this variable is created. Okay, you can assign any value to this variable. But in case of arrays, when you are defining an array, okay, like here I'm saying int then arr of square bracket or int square bracket and then my arr, then uh, if you're using static way, then in the same line you have to initialize your array. You have to initialize your array as well as assign the value to it. Okay, so here I'm saying, so this is what static way of initializing an array. Okay, defining or initializing you can say. So what I'm doing is, in this case I'm creating an integer type of array whose name is arr, and it has some 5 values in it. Like I'm storing 5 values in it: 89, 45, 34, 23, 14, and so on. Okay, so this is static way of defining array. In this, your size of array is also fixed. Whatever values you'll assign, that will be the size of the array, and those will be the values assigned to it. Okay, now remember one point, that every location of an array has one address. Okay, so when you are creating this array, at that time JVM will assign one memory location where it will store these values. That memory location will be a continuous memory location. So here in the first location you will get 89, in the second location you will get 45, in the third location you will get 34, and so on. Okay, now the address, if we start remembering address, then it will be very difficult for us to remember the address. Okay, so if you recall the time when you studied assembly language, there we used to remember the address. But in this case, you don't have to remember the address. Why? Because instead of address, we get something from JVM, and that is known as index. Okay, every array has an index, and that index always starts from 0. So in your array, the first value which you have, that will be at 0th index. The second value which you have will be at first index. This will be at second index. This will be at third and fourth. Okay. So whatever is the size of the array, like here, the size of the array is 5. Index will go from 0 to 1 less than the length of the array, that is 0 to 4. Okay. Any questions till now?
Oh,
Okay. So now let's say if I want to access this value, I mean the values from this array. So for example, I'm saying system.out.println, and I want to get what is third value. Okay. So when I say third value, that means I want to get a value at second index, right? So if I want fifth value, that means I have to get fourth index, the value at fourth index. So this ARR, then in the square bracket, you're putting 2. So 2 means this is the index. So what you'll get a value which is at this index. Second index. Second index will be, this is first, that is 0. This is first, this is second. So you'll get this. So when I execute this case, you can see 34 get printed. Okay, so this is static way of defining array, in which you're defining the values, or you are assigning the values to the array in the same line. Like here I created an array ARR, then I assigned the values also in the same line, and the values which you are assigning, like here I've given 5 values. So this array ARR, this has 5 values assigned to it. Okay, now next we have is uh, dynamic way of assigning. Now what do I mean by dynamic? Dynamic means that you are not giving the values to the array in the same line. Rather, you're first creating an empty array and then assigning the values to it. Because you may get a situation where you don't know the value from the start. You might get from some condition and then you have to assign the value. So in that case, you will define your array as a dynamic array. So what is the way of defining a dynamic array? The way will be int square bracket, or int the name of the variable and square bracket, whatever suits you, whatever you're comfortable with. Then you will use a keyword called new, and then you will again use this keyword called int, and this time you will define the size of the array or length of the array. Okay, so what I've done is I just created an instance my ARR of integer array. Then this new keyword, new word, is to instantiate. I'll write here. This is dynamic way of defining an array. Okay, here new keyword is to instantiate. Now what do I mean by instantiate? Instantiate. Okay, new instantiate a variable. Okay, now what do I mean by instantiating a variable? Instantiating means creating memory location for this variable. Okay, so what this new keyword will do, this new keyword will create a memory location, continuous memory location with size 10. Okay, there will be 10 memory block which will be get reserved for this array called my ARR. Okay, and all those values, all those uh, values in all those memory location initially will be 0 if it's an integer type. Okay, so for integer type value, all the values will be 0. Why they are 0, that we'll discuss later, but yeah, default values is 0. So is it clear? What does this means? This means that I'm creating an array. This means I'm creating an integer array. My ARR is the name. New keyword is to give the memory location of whatever size you will pass here. So as I'm passing 10 here, 10 memory location, and that too continuous memory location will be allocated to a variable known as my ARR. Again, uh, remembering the memory location or memory address will be a very tedious task. So what we get here is we get index along with this variable name. So if my variable name is my ARR, there will be an index associated with it. So you can assign value using those index. Like here, I'll say my ARR, then I'll say this square bracket 0 equal to some value. Let's say I'm giving a value 67. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm assigning the value. Okay, 10 will be a very large size, so I'll just change it to 5 and then I'll assign 5 values here. Okay, so here I can say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as the size of the array is 5, index will go from 0 to 4, right? Here I'll change it to 69, let's say 65, 47, 97. So I got all the 5 values. Okay, now after that, I want to initialize the for loop. Okay, so it will be 4, then int. Okay, now what I'm doing, sorry, I just forget to mention. So I just assigned the values to it. Now if you want to get the value back, what you'll do? Let's say you want my ARR of, let's say 3. That is, I want fourth value. So if I execute this code, you will see 47 gets printed. Why 47? Because index starts from 0. So my ARR of 3 is 47. Clear? Any questions? Okay. So next I have to learn is iterating over this array. So it will be 4. Then how to iterate? Iteration will be int. Then there will be a variable, let's say I. Index starts from 0. Then it will be I will be less than my ARR dot length. Okay, then I plus plus. So this is one way I'll explain this. See, what I'm doing is, as I want to iterate over all the values here, okay, from 0 to 4. So what I'm doing, I'm starting an for loop. Okay, uh, did we discuss about for loop? I guess no, right? Yeah, I guess I forget to discuss about loops. Okay, I'll discuss now. So what I'm doing is, as I have to iterate over all the values, I'm using this for loop. Okay, when you want a for loop or any loop, when you want to execute a same statement multiple times. Okay, say for example, uh, I'll take here. Say for example, I want to repeat some statement multiple times. Okay, maybe I want to print a table of 3 or multiples of 3. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll say here for int. Int means integer variable. I equal to 1. then I less than, let's say, 10, and then I plus plus. Say for example, I want to print multiples of 3. So here I'll say system.out.println, and I'll say I multiply by 3. So what it will do? It will print multiple of 3. How? For the first time, the value of I will be 1. So 1 into 3, 3. It will print 3. Next time it will print 6. Third time it will print 9, and so on. Right? So if I execute this code, you will see a multiple of 3 got printed. Okay, if we'll see this in debug mode, how it works, right click, debug as Java application. Okay, so when I execute this statement, you will see a variable with name I is created and the value of I is 1. Okay, so now when I execute this statement, it printed 3. When we'll come back to this and execute it again, you will see now this third part, it has incremented the value of I by 1. So here if you look at, there are three conditions. The first one is initialization. Okay, so the first one is initialization, second one is like a condition, and third one is like increment or decrement. So when this loop executed for one time, the value of I got incremented by 1. You can see here the value is 2. Okay, so when I print this, you can see 6 got printed. And when you execute this statement again, the value of I become 3. It will execute like this. So there are three parts. First one is initialization, second one is condition, and third one is increment and decrement. So first one will give you the initial value. Second will tell you how many times to execute. That means it will give you a condition. Third will increment or decrement if in every run. Okay, every time you execute this code, it will increment or decrement here, whatever you will put. Okay. Yes, Abhilasha, what is your doubt? You're saying when I execute the debug, my system does not. Okay, it's okay. I'll at the end of the class I'll show you. Okay, you can share your screen and we'll see. Is it fine? Because without looking at it, I won't be able to get the. Okay, fine. So is this clear? Like for loop and the condition? Okay. So I'll come back to my normal mode. Okay. So so this is normal for loop. Now let's come back to arrays. So here, what is my requirement? My requirement is that the initial value should be 0. Why? Because my array starts with a 0 value. So the value of I am putting as 0. Okay. So my ARR of 0 is whatever is the value that will, from there it will start. Then I'm putting the condition I less than equal to less than a my ARR dot length. What does this do? This will calculate the length of the array. Okay, so if you want, I can put it in a different variable, and I'll use this variable here. When I'll run it in debug mode, it will be more clear. And here I'll simply say system.out.println ARR of I. So here I'll put I. Okay, now let's. Yes, Jason.
Can you explain that sentence again? I missed it.
Which one? This part?
Okay.
Okay. So what I'm doing here is this array. I mean, in my for loop, I have to tell my for loop how many times should this execute, right? Initial value I've given that it should start with I equal to 0, but how many times it should execute, that will come from this condition. So what is the condition? How many times you want to execute this loop? You want as many time as the number of members in this array or number of values in that array. So this array my arr, it has value starting from 0 will go up to 4. That means it has 5 values. That means the length of the array is 5. So this I will execute from 0 to less than 5, that is 0 to 4. Clear? So this I've just created a new variable to show you in debug mode how it will work. Okay, so for now I'll just put a debug mode here. Before that, Jason, did I answer your question? I mean, you clear with it?
Yeah, what will happen if you put just my ARR?
Uh, this one,
Yes.
let me show you
Only
in.
my ARR, not
Yeah,
dot length.
yeah, this my arr is the name of the array. So you want
Okay.
the size of this array. How you get it? There is a variable in my arr. I mean, in the class where this integer is written, in that there is a variable known as length. So we are accessing the value of length actually. Okay, so my arr dot length will give you how many, what is the size of this array, you can say. So this will return you 5 here.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what I'm going to show you in debug mode now. So let me run it in debug mode. Okay, so here you can see there is an array with name my arr, and how arrays are represented in here is the one. See, my arr of 0, so this is 0 index. What is the value at 0 index? Whatever we have given, 67. Then first has 69, second has 65, and so on. So here also the representation is in index only. Okay, now
What if IT is equal to 20?
forget about it. It's something which is internal, so you don't have to worry.
Okay.
This is something which is used internally by this debug mode. Okay, so we are more
Okay. Got it.
interested in these things where we have index. Okay, now my where is my debug mode point? Yeah, here is my debug point. Okay, now I'll execute this statement, and when I execute this statement, you can see that a new variable is created with name length of arr, and the value of it is 5. So what is 5? 5 is the size of this array, right? So that is what we have got. Now we have to start from I equal to 0, we'll go up to I less than 5. Okay, and then I plus plus after every increment the value of I will get incremented by 1. So when I execute this statement, so you can see value of I is 0 and ARR of 0. Here ARR of 0 is 89, so this time 89 will get print. So here you can see 89 got printed. Okay, any questions? Just a second, but why 89? Just a second, from where this 89 is coming? Okay, that is AR. Okay, my bad. What it printed? Oh, my bad. Here I'm printing ARR instead of my ARR. So I have to run this again. Terminate, and I'll go back in Java mode. Yeah, run it again. I was using the wrong okay. Yeah. So when I execute it now, so here when I execute the statement now, so again the length is 5, and this time condition gets true. Okay, so condition is true, so my error here, the value of at 0 is 67, so the value which get print will be 67. In the next iteration, when I execute this, the value of I become 1. Okay, so it will again print 2. Okay, so all the values got printed. As soon as the condition got true, I mean condition got false, that means the value of I become 5. Okay, the condition was not correct, so it came out of that for loop. So that's how it executes. Clear? Clear with arrays? I mean the basic array. Okay, so we'll see many examples with related to array, and I'll give you few basic examples, and we'll give you some scenarios to practice. Lots of scenarios to practice actually. Okay, so why I want you to try these different scenarios, so that you will learn how will you apply logic while iterating over them. Okay, like one of the example I want is I want to get the sum of all the values of an array. Okay, say for example I have this all these values. I want to get the sum of all these values. Okay, so how you'll do? Let's see. So here sum of array. I'll keep this public static void main checked. Okay, let me just copy paste the array. So let's say I have this array whose size is 5, and then I want there are some values, and I want sum of all the values. Okay, so for that what I'll do, I'll create another variable with the name sum. Okay, then we'll start the for loop. Int I equal to, okay, one more point, this I variable, like I'm initializing as well as declaring the variable inside the for loop. You can do this outside as well. Here also you can say int I, uh, and here you can say I equal to 0, then I less than my arr dot length, and then I plus plus. So both are correct ways. What is the difference? The difference is if you define your variable this way, then the scope of this variable called I lies within this loop only. You cannot access this value of I outside this for loop. This variable is local to this block. Whereas the variable which I've defined here, that is this int I, you can access it anywhere within this method. Okay, so this I is local to this method called main. It can be accessed inside this for loop, it can be accessed outside this for loop. Whereas the other one, when I've defined inside this for loop, you can access within this for loop only. You cannot access it outside. Clear? Okay, so here I'll also initialize my sum variable with 0, and here what you have to do, you have to do like this, sum equal to sum plus my arr of 0 of I. Okay, so this will calculate the sum. Let's see how. Let's run it in debug mode. Okay, so I'm putting one for loop here, I mean debug point here. So let's run it in debug mode. So here you can see one variable with name myARR is created, which has these 5 values, and a variable sum equal to 0. So when I execute this, here you can see that myARR of dot length, so the size will be 5. Okay, now the value of I here is 0. Okay, and the value of sum is 0. So in this particular condition, my ARR of 0 is 67 and sum is 0. So that means 0 plus 67, that is 67, will get assigned to this sum as soon as I execute this statement. So as I executed this statement, you can see the sum becomes 67 now. Okay, now when I execute this statement again, this time the value of I is 1. Value of I is 1, that is, see, the sum is 67, ARR of 1, this is 69, so that means the sum of both, that is 130, what will be the sum? 136 will get printed. So if I execute this, you can see the sum become 136. Okay, so next time when I execute, it will become 201. So you can see 201. Okay, like this, after every execution, the sum will be executed. So here you can see in the next statement 248 is the sum, and in the next one it will be 347, 357 or 47. Okay, 345 is the sum. Now the value of I is 4. Next time when I execute, the value of I will become 5, and as soon as the value become 5, you can see you can see that condition was not correct, so it came out of that for loop. Now it is executing this sum. So when I execute this, you can see sum 345 is printed. I'll resume, terminate all sessions, click back on this, and we are here. Clear? Any questions, any doubt here? Okay, so one more thing here, if you look at, I have done sum equal to sum plus my ARR of I. There is one more way of doing this. I mean, there is one more operator you can see, and that is this. This one, the statement at line number 19 and the statement at line number 21 are exactly same. This one is sum equal to sum plus some value, and this one is also sum equal to sum plus this. Here what you see is this is known as compound operator. Okay, so this will do the same thing, sum equal to sum plus some value. Okay, now this is like plus equal to, you can have minus equal to, multiply equal to, divide equal to, modulus equal to. So all those are like compound uh, operator. So if I execute the code with this, exactly same thing got printed. Okay, so this is known as compound operator. Whenever you encounter this, it's same like sum equal to sum plus the value. Clear? Okay. Now, if in this particular example, if I want to calculate average, then what I'll do? Average, let's say I created a variable with name average, that will be equal to, what is the value of average? Average is sum divided by number of values. So sum divided by number of value. How many values are there? Whatever is was the value of I at the end, right? Here the value of I, or you can also say my ARR dot length. You can say that also. My ARR dot length. So if I have to print average, I'll say average equal to average. So when I execute this code, you will see average is 69. 345 divided by 5 results in 69. Okay, any questions? Okay, Abhilasha, you're saying why you didn't mention I. The reason is because I can be misleading. You might, I mean, sometime it might come out of this for loop because of some unexpected value. That time, I mean, you cannot rely more on I. Uh, for average, my ARR dot length is a better option. Okay, because it is actually whatever is the size of the array. Okay, let me explain it. Just give me a second. See, you're saying that why I have not used I here, instead I used my error dot length, right? Okay. See, you can use I in this particular example, but why I'm not relying on this I variable, because this I variable has the responsibility of iteration. Okay, so I agree that at the end the value of I will be 5 when it will come out of this for loop, which is actually the size of the array. But you cannot rely on that, because instead of, you can have something is else as well. Maybe you're using this I in a different way. Okay, maybe you are initializing this I with some value 2, and here uh, uh, maybe you are initializing the way I with 2 and then calculating the value. So in that case, or maybe you're using I plus 2 in the, instead of I, you use I plus plus, you're using I plus 2. So depending upon the condition in which I is being used, it may vary. You cannot 100% rely on I for the number of values in the array. In this particular example, like the older one which you saw, yes, you can use I, but in real time, avoid it. Use exactly what you want. What you want in calculating average. You want the number of values in an array, right? So for that, use my ARR dot length instead. Okay. Yeah, so this is one of the example. Let's have a break for 5 minutes now, and then we'll see few more examples. Like I'll be giving you one more example with arrays, integer arrays, and then we'll move to our next topic. Okay. Okay, so let's continue now. Okay, so quick case if you all can hear me. I mean, you both can hear me. Okay, thanks for confirmation. Let's start now. Okay, one more example I'll take to give you more idea about how iteration and all is done in arrays. So let's take one example where we'll calculate max value out of an array. Okay, I'll keep this public static void main checked here. Okay, so in this max value of an array, what I'll do, again I'll copy paste that array maybe. This array I have copy pasted this one. Okay, and maybe I'll give maximum value some here so that I can give you proper explanation in debug mode. Okay, so this is my array. Now I want to calculate max value. So I'll create one variable with name max value. Okay, and what I'll do here, either you can put the max value as 0 like we did it in sum, or there is one more. What I can say is I will take ARR of my ARR of 0 as the max value. I'll consider this as the max value, and then I'll start my for loop for int I equal to 0, then I less than maybe my ARR dot length, then I plus plus. Okay, and here now I'll say if um, I'll put the condition my ARR if my ARR of I is greater than max, then let me just complete it, then I'll explain you. See what I'm doing. Here is my array. I want to iterate over it. So I used one variable max value whose value I'm assigning to my ARR of 0. Now I'm iterating my for loop. Here I started with I equal to 0, then I less than my ARR dot length. That means it will go up to 5, 0 to 5, I plus plus. Then I'm saying if my ARR of I is greater than max value, then whatever is the max value, I mean whatever is the value in that ARR in array, assign it to max value. Otherwise, don't do anything. And here you can reduce one more iteration. Like here you are starting with 0. Anyways, this condition ARR of 0 will never be greater than my max value, because max value is also ARR of 0. So what you can do is instead of 0, you can start it with 1. You will have one less iteration, and when I execute it, you will get the max value, and max value is 105. So let's see how it worked. Let me just put the debug point here. Right click, debug as Java application. Okay. So here in this case, you can see that the variable is created with name max value, in which the value is 67. And if I expand the array, these are the values. Okay. Now, when I execute this, the value of I is 1. 1 is less than 5, the condition is true. Here my ARR of 1 is 69, whereas the value of max value is 67. So this condition is satisfied. You will see that it went inside, and this time the max value become 69, right? For the next iteration, again the condition is true because my ARR of 2 is 105, whereas max value is 69. So it will execute this, max value will become 105. For the next iteration, the value of I will be 3. ARR of 3 is 47, which is less than 105. Your condition is not satisfied, so it will not go inside, will go back to for loop. In the next iteration, the value of I is 4. Again, the condition is not satisfied. Okay, so it will come out, and this time uh, as the value of I is also become 5, which is out of the range, so it even came out of the for loop, and when you'll print it, it will print the max value. Okay, clear that how I have done this? So this is how you will do the different iterations. I mean, putting conditions inside the iterations. I'll give you many examples for this. Okay, so moving on, um, there is one more thing left in array which I have to explain now. And one more thing, currently we have done only one dimensional array. There is something known as two dimensional array as well, which will I'll also take up. But before that, I'll first complete all the loops. Like I have just mentioned for loop. There is a while loop and do while loop as well. We'll cover that, and then only we'll move to two dimensional arrays. Okay. So next, what I want to explain is enhanced for loop. Okay, or you can call this as for each loop also. And this for each loop was introduced in Java 5. It was not there till Java 4. It came in Java 5, and let's see what it is. So I just copy paste the array. Now, in case of array, when you are creating, look at here. Every time you're calculating the length and then you are iterating over this for loop, right? Now here the requirement is that I want to iterate over each value of an array, right? This is the only requirement we have. So in that case, instead of defining I and then iterating over it, Java provides us a quick way, and that is enhanced for loop. Again, the name remains for only, but the way it is executed is different. Like here, you will create one temporary variable. Let's say I call it temp, then colon. See, white integer type because all the values of this array is of int type, right? So that's why it's int temp, then the array over which you want to iterate. So I want to iterate over my ARR. So I'll put my ARR, and then let's say I want to print all of them. So I'll simply use temp. Now how it works. So this for loop, the other two things like the initialization part, applying the condition part, and increment decrement, everything it do internally. What we are doing is we are just creating one temp variable and iterating over my array. In each iteration, value from this my array one by one will go to temp variable. For the first time, the value from my ARR of 0 will go to temp, then my ARR of 1 will go to temp, and so on. And like this, this temp has values from zeroth index to last index. So it will be temp. For the first time, temp will be my ARR of 0. For the second time, temp will be my ARR of 1, and so on. Okay, so if I put a debug mode here and execute it, right click, or let me just run it first and then I'll debug it. So when you execute it, executed the way earlier it got executed. Now if I execute it in debug mode, so see here, you have an array myArr, and here we are. So I execute this statement, a temp variable is created, and look at the value. Okay, Abhilasha, you have a question. Temp means temp is any variable. You can give it any name X, Y, Z. Just for temp variable, I mean temporary, as it's a temporary variable. That's why I'm calling it temp. You can give it any name X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, whatever. Okay, going forward when we'll define our frameworks, that time I'll also explain you the way how you have to define the name of the variables and name of the methods. So the naming convention we'll discuss in detail while we'll cover frameworks. Okay. Okay. So I'll execute it further. So in the next step, you can see that 67 get printed and temp variable is gone. It will be created again, and this time the value assigned to it will be from my ARR of 1 because it's second iteration. Okay, when I execute it again, third time the value is from third. Then next time the value is from fourth, and next time the value is from fifth. Okay, so this is how enhanced for loop works. Value from it comes one by one. Okay, now why you use enhanced for loop? This loop we use because it's easy way of implementing or iterating over an array, because you don't have to worry about I variable, what should come here. You don't have to worry about this my error of I. Don't have to worry about length equal to one issue which I've seen most of the people doing is instead of less than, people put less than equal to, then last value get out of array index. Okay, then you have to worry about increment and decrement. Here nothing like that, just one line and values will start coming in temp. So it's a easy way of iterating over an array. And these for loop, enhanced for loop can only be used with arrays or collections. Okay. Normally it is not used. It is used over some array or collection. Collection like linked list, array list, and so on. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone? Okay. So this is enhanced for loop. Okay, Jason, you have a question. Why you didn't use equal in for loop? This for loop you're saying. So in this for loop, this is the syntax only. I mean, this is the simplest syntax. Int, temp, and then colon. It does not work with equal to. It works with colon and then name of the array. That's it. This is syntax here. Okay. Any other questions in this? Now going forward, I'll be using enhanced for loop only whenever I'll iterate over an array. Whenever I'll iterate over an array or any other collection, maybe linked list, array list, you have a long list. So whenever we'll iterate over them, we'll not use the normal for loop, we'll use enhanced for loop only. Okay. So yeah, now I'll move to the next one. that is while loop. Okay, while is while loop is another loop where you can again repeat a statement multiple times. So here the syntax is keyword is while. Okay, then in the round brackets put the condition. Condition can be anything. Say for example, I'm saying condition is I create a variable int first number or a number normal. Okay, I give a value number equal to 10. Then maybe I can put a condition till another variable. Let me define. Second number, let's say less than num till the time this is the case. Then print condition, or maybe you can print second number. And here you're saying num num plus plus. Okay, so what is this while loop? In while loop you have a condition here, then inside this you have a logic. That's it. Okay, so when I execute this, you will see it executed from 0 till 9 because I have put a condition that execute till second number is less than this number. Okay, and increment decrement part I did inside. So here we did the initialization part, here is the condition, and here is initialization and deletion. It's quite similar to for loop, but it gives us one extra benefit, and that is that I'll explain with one example. Okay, so let me take one, like, is the syntax clear? So initialization you can do before your while, then inside while loop you put a condition, and then increment decrement you can do with the logic. Okay, so this is quite similar to for loop, right? I just mimicked the for loop. Now I'll give you one example where, let's say I'm creating one variable sum of digits of a number. Sum of digits of a number. This is one logic I'm writing. In this, I'll give you one good scenario where this while loop can be used, where for loop will fail. Okay, so I just created one variable int num and assigned some value to it. What I want is I want to sum up all these digits. Like here it's 7 plus 9, 16 plus 8, 24, 30, 34, and then 44. So 44 is the sum which should come, right? So I want to write a logic where I'll just give any value to this num variable and I should get the logic and I should get the sum. Okay, so let's discuss the logic first, and then probably I'll mimic it in the code. Okay, so I'll just open the notepad plus plus. Okay, so I have just some number, maybe some random number. What I want is I want to sum up all, right? So I just want 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9 plus 4 plus 8. I want sum of all these digits. Okay, so how you can do that? First of all, you need to get each digit one by one. Now, think uh, properly that either I do sum from right to left or left to right. I mean, if I add up 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9 plus 4 plus 8, or I add up 8 plus 4 plus 9 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4, sum will remain same. So I'll get this last digit first. How you will get? Just recall the operators you have. Okay, we have one of the operator which gives us the remainder. That is this percent. So if I divide this number by 10, okay, or if I take modulus of this number with 10, I'll always get the last digit, because 948 when divided by 10, the remainder will be 8. That means with this number, if I do a modulus, I'll always get a modulus with the 10, I'll always get the last digit. So I got the last digit. Then what I'll do, I'll divide this with 10. Then what I'll get one digit less. I'll get this. Why? Because when you divide an integer by an integer, your result is always an integer. And when you divide it by 10, last digit will be gone. This same logic I have to repeat how many times? As many number of digits we have, right? So here I'll divide it by, this by, so here I'll get what? What should I get? I'll get 4, and here my 4 will be gone. And like this, it will repeat how many times? Till this number is greater than 0, right? Till this number is greater than 0, I'll keep on doing this. Okay, so do I know how many iterations are there from the start? No, because this number can be a 6 digit, it can be a 7 digit, it can be an 8 digit, it can be n number of digit, right? So I don't know how many iteration I'm going to have. But in for loop, it was important. In for loop, you were putting a condition in such a way that your iteration number of iteration was clear. So what added advantage you get through while loop? I'll just mimic this code through while loop, where number of iteration will not be important. We'll get the number of iteration through a condition. Okay, clear? Any questions here? So this logic I'll just write here, and then probably you'll and run it in debug mode. Then probably you'll get it more clear. So here, um, what is next? Next is that uh, here I'll start the logic. Yeah. So I'll say while num is not equal to 0. Okay. While num is not equal to 0, till that time, here I'll create. What is the issue? Okay, I forget. Main is missing. Okay, so here while number is not equal to 0, okay, here let's say I have a variable, one more variable where I'll say remainder. Okay, so remainder I'll initialize with 0, and here I'll say remainder is equals to num modulo 10. Then I'll say uh, next will be here I'll also say int sum of number, sum of digits. So it will be sum of digits equal to, or I can use the compound operator now. You know the compound operator. So it will be remainder, and I have to initialize this with, let's say, 0, and then I'll say num divided by num equal to, or here also I can use that, and in the last I can simply say sum of digits is, so when I execute this code, you will see 44 is printed. How? Let's see. So what I'm doing here is I have a number, this, then I created one variable with name remainder, which will actually get each digit one by one, and then I have a variable called sum of digit, which will actually keep the sum of the digits. Okay, so we created this while loop. Okay, in the while loop I am putting a condition till the time number is not equal to 0. Execute this statement. Here see, I have not put any increment, decrement. All the condition are running. Sorry, the number of iterations are based on the conditions you are passing. So here number is not equal to 0. Here it was remainder equal to whatever is your number. I divide it with, I take a modulus with 10. What value you're getting? You're getting the last digit, so you get 4 here. Then sum of the digit was 0, so 0 plus 4 will be 4, which will assign. So just recall this, we studied this is equals to sum of digit equal to sum of digit plus remainder, right? So same thing, then this is num equal to num by 10. So this will keep on iterating. If you want to see it in debug mode, we can run it in debug mode as well. So when I run it in debug mode, you will see the remainder is 0, sum of digit is 0, and here we are while number is not equal to 0. So when I execute this statement, here you can see remainder, the variable remainder has value 4. Why? Because when this number divided by 10, a remainder is 4. So this gives me 4. Sum of digit was 0, and here we have a value 4. So when I execute this statement, sum of digit will also become 4, and num is equal to num plus num divided by 10. So when I execute this statement, you will see that number is reduced by one digit. Earlier it was 6464, and now it is 646. It will keep on doing this. Sum will keep on increasing and number will keep on decreasing, and when the number will become 0, your condition is not satisfied, it will come out of the it will come out of the while loop and will print the sum of the digits. Clear? Any questions? So this is one example I've given you where number of iterations is not necessary for while loop, and that's the main reason Java invented, or any programming language invented, while loop. Okay, Abhilasha, you have a question, how to check leap year or not? Can you give example? So like this was in part of an assignment. Have you covered, I mean, have you not covered it? Okay. Uh, okay, fine. You have doubt. So just let's complete this loops and then I'll come to it. I mean, it will be a context switching. So let me just complete this loops. One more is left, and then I'll like give you the example of how to verify whether it's a leap year or not. Maybe I'll give you the condition. You can try yourselves. Okay, so I hope this this while loop is also clear. Any doubt? I'll give you some examples, some more examples where you will practice this. Okay, so let's move to the last loop we have, and the last loop which we have is do while loop. Now, what is this do while loop? Do while loop is let's first see the syntax. So do while is do something and then check a condition. Like here I say num greater than 10, int num equal to, let's say, 11. See, um, let me put a while loop as well. While num greater than, or I mean less than 10, I am in while loop. Okay, so let's look at these two things. In the first one, I have a number defined as 11. In the first one, I'm using while loop, whereas in the second one, I'm using do while loop. Look at this. Here, my condition is if num is less than 10, print this. Okay, till the time number is less than 10, print this. And here, let me do one more thing. Let's take it this. Okay, let me execute this, then I'll show you. Okay, and second one is also condition is same, num is less than 10, and here I'm saying I'm in do while. So let's execute this. As condition is not satisfying, it should not execute, right? But let's see. You can see that the first one is not executed, but the second one still executed. Why? Because in the first one, in the while loop, condition is checked first. Here condition was not matching, so it did not execute it at all. Whereas in the second one, where we have do while loop, in the do while loop, this thing first executed. It executed this statement which is there in do and then checked the condition. So do while loop is executed at least once, no matter uh, what the condition is, whether it matches or not. So this is a small difference between while loop and do while loop. Do while is executed at least once, no matter what is the case. Whereas whereas the normal while loop will execute only if the condition is satisfied. Clear? Any questions? Okay, what is use it? Yeah, Jishan, the use is sometime what happens is this condition what you're looking for, uh, it comes after executing at least once. Maybe many a time you get into a situation where after executing at least once only you get the condition. Okay, so in that case we'll use it. Okay, maybe I'll give you one example. I mean, one in the assignment, I'll look for one scenario where you can use this do while. If I find something good, I'll show you. Okay, so main uses when you have or you want a condition to be executed. I mean, one scenario to be executed at least one, and then only you match up the condition. Okay, so yeah, that's all in loops. There will be few assignments which I'll be sharing. Maybe today, end of the day, I'll share. You can practice them for the whole week. I mean, next week you can practice, and maybe next weekend we'll discuss about the scenarios. Okay. Any questions now? Okay. So now loops are also done. Arrays we discussed. One-dimensional array at least we discussed. Two-dimensional arrays we'll see. Okay. Yeah. Next, what we have is before jumping to two-dimensional array, we need to discuss one more thing, that is multi-for loops. Okay, that means loop within a loop. Okay, so that is one thing I want to explain before proceeding with two-dimensional array, because in many scenarios, even in Selenium, we'll be using this multi-for loop. Multi-for loop means loop within a loop. This we are going to use a lot because in Selenium, you will encounter with scenarios related to tables a lot, and tables are like two-dimensional array, and for two-dimensional array you need multi-for loops, that is loop within a loop. So next topic which I'll be covering is this only, that is uh, running loop within a loop. So I'll start with it. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to print a pattern like this, where number of rows can be anything, number of columns can be anything. Like it can be 5 by 4, it can be 4 by 4, it can be 6 by 4, anything. So I want to have a loop. I want to print this, let's say. So here, if you see, we have a row. Then in each row, like we have 4 rows here, and then in each row you have some values, right? So what we do is, in such a scenario, I use one variable I for rows, and I use one column called j for each value. Like j will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Okay, so rows will be with I and columns will be with j. Remember this? Now I'll come here, create one class, let's say pattern examples. Okay, now here uh, I'll start with a for loop for int I equal to, let's say I'm starting with I 1, then I less than equal to, let's say I create one variable int row equal to, let's say 5, and int column equal to, let's say 7. That means I have 5 rows and 7 columns. So it's starting from I equal to 1, I less than equal to row, and then I plus plus. Then inside this I'm starting another for loop, int j equal to 1, j less than equal to, let's say call, and then j plus plus. Okay, so what we are doing, I'll explain you, just give me a minute. See here, we have system.out.println. I'll remove this ln. Ln is for new line. If you don't have ln, then it will print in same line, and I'll put this white space as well. See what we are doing. I told you that here the pattern which I want to print, I will go from, I is the number of rows, right? So I'll go from 1 to the number of rows, whereas j will go from this. So when the value of I will be 1, how many times I want to execute this j? I want to execute this j 5 times, right? So this for loop, enhanced for loop, for each value of I, this will execute whatever will be the number of column. Okay. Abhilasha, you're saying why here not using I equal to 0? Why I'm not using I equal to 0? Because we are not dealing with loops. We are not dealing with arrays here. In case of arrays, index start from 0. But in case of normal for loop, you can start with 1 as well. Because here we don't have any index, right? So you can start with normally 1. Clear? Okay. So this will print. Now after every row is printed, I want a new line. So for new line, just print syso. I mean system.out.println. This will create a new line. Empty. Keep it empty. Now when I execute this, you will see the pattern is printed. Here you can see the pattern, whatever you desired for, got printed. Okay, so let's see it in debug mode, how it works. So now I'll run it in debug mode, right click, debug as Java application. So here you can see row is 5, column is 7. I'll start here. For the first time, uh, if we see I is 1, row is 5, condition is satisfied. So it will go inside. Now it is iterating j, like it is starting another for loop where j is 1. So when I execute this, you can see j is 1, column is 7. So again condition is satisfied. So what it will do, see here I is 1, j is 1. So what it will do, it print 1 star. Now look at here, it has not gone to I equal, I mean it has not gone to the outer for loop. It is still in inner for loop. So this will execute again because j is changing to 2. Here one more star is printed. Now for the next iteration j will be 3. I is still 1. J is 3. So it will keep on executing till the complete row is printed. So all the values got printed. Right? Now when I execute it, see the value of I become 2 and j again started from 1. So it will again go till 7. So if I execute it, resume it, it again printed 7 stars. Okay, like this it will keep on printing stars and your value was got printed, and 5 times 7 stars got printed. So if somebody asks you how many times these for loop got executed, so what should be your answer? This for loop executed 5 times because the condition was from I equal to 1 to 5. So 5 times this got executed. Whereas the internal one, it executed 7 times for each value of I. So for I equal to 1, it executed 7 times. For I equal to 2, it got executed 7 times. For I equal to 3, it executed 7 times, and so on. So how many total number of times this executed? 5 rows and 7 times each. That means 35 times this inner for loop got executed. Clear? Any questions? Okay, so yeah, this is how you will use multi for loops. So I hope you got some idea. Okay, now next pattern which we can print is like this. Think of logic what I'm applying here. Okay, so you have to this is what you have to print now and using multi for loop. Okay, so can you think of what you can do? I mean, if you actually look at here, only one single thing will change here, and your pattern will get print. So I'll just copy paste the same. Where is paste? Yeah, pattern example 2. So you can just check the number. Yeah. So what do you think? What is the logic here? Do you sense some logic here? I mean, something which comes into your mind. See, in the first pattern, my number of rows and my number of columns were fixed. Here also, number of rows are fine. But look at the column. In the column, how many time I'm printing? See, this is first row, so I'm printing it once. This is second row, I'm printing twice. This is row number 3 and I'm printing 3. This is row number 4 and I'm printing 4. That means I don't need this column variable, and if I change this call to I, will it work? See, for the first time I will be 1. J will execute from 1 to 1. When I will be 2, J will execute 1 and then 2. When I will be 3, J will execute 1, 2, 3, and so on. So if I execute this code, okay, my bad.
You made a mistake in nested
Yes,
for loop.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
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 So you can see that same pattern got printed. Now you just have to change this number of rows. Maybe I'll change it to 8 and it will print 8. Right? So one single small change and you got whatever you desired. Okay, like this, you can have a logic like this. I mean, you can have patterns like this, which you can practice 1, then 3 times star, then 5 times star, then 7 times star. Okay, or you can have a pattern like this, one star, then this. You can have a pattern like this, you can practice this, then you can also practice one more pattern. Just give me a second. What I'm doing, just give me a second. And if you practice all these things, at the end, if you are able to print something like this, that is something known as pyramid, that means you're good with patterns now. Okay, not only stars, you can have like this. I mean, you can have some numbers here instead of patterns. 1, 3, 5, 7, then 9, then yeah, then maybe 11, then 13, not 13, what? Yeah, 13, then 15, then 17, then 19, next is 21, then 23, then 25, then you can have 27, and you can have 29, and so on. You can have pattern like this. N number of patterns comes out. So you can practice all these things. Okay, so I've given you two examples. You can take up others, practice it. If you'll face any issue anywhere, do let me know. We'll discuss. Okay. So
Are
yeah,
you practicing the decrement in the for loop as well?
yeah, using for loop only. I mean, every pattern you have. I'll give you assignment, proper assignment. So in that, everywhere you have to practice using. Uh,
No, I'm asking, in the for loop, so far we have discussed about the increment.
mhm.
There's another option of decrement as well.
Yeah, yeah, decrement is also there. So you want me to show that also?
You want to discuss it today or tomorrow? It's up to you.
Okay, that's very easy. I mean, only the condition will change. Okay, maybe we'll discuss tomorrow. Let's practice this.
Yeah, that will be much more.
Tomorrow we'll discuss. Okay.
Okay. So are we
Uh,
discussing about the time?
yeah. Jishan, anyways, tomorrow it's not possible because tomorrow I have to leave by 12:30 somewhere. I'm in IST. So tomorrow also we need to have the same time. From next week, maybe we can discuss the time. So Abhilasha, actually, Jishan wants some later time. What's the current time there, Jishan?
It's 3:30 p.m.
That means you want time to be somewhere around 12:30 IST, right? I mean,
Must be.
it's 12 a.m. now. So after this,
You are 5.5 hours behind Sydney.
I
Am I
didn't get.
correct?
I mean,
Yeah.
at your place it's 3:30, 1:30, right? Sorry,
No, no,
3:30,
three. Yes.
3:30, right? And you
Yes.
want 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, so actually there is a batch for me 10:30 to 12:30. So that time is not possible at all. I can have at 1 a.m. I mean 1 p.m. according to Indian time. So 1 p.m.
One,
1 p.m. will
two,
be
three,
like 3
five,
hours from now.
six mm, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. Yeah.
3 hours from now will be 6:30 for you, right?
It will be a bit difficult for me because that's like I said. Sometimes I have dinner invitation. Sometimes we have a lunch invitation. Sometimes I have to go somewhere. I have to take my family in the morning. So I need somewhere in between.
Okay. But time, like the time which you need is already there available, I mean, is assigned to the other batch.
What is the timing for the another batch?
It's 10:30. I mean, just after your class, I'll start. I mean, after half an hour break, I'll start with the next batch.
So are they in the same classes, or they are in advance, or
They are advanced. Like for them, 10 classes are already done.
okay?
For you, it's only the third class. I mean, today was the third class. For them, 10 classes are already done.
That would be difficult for us because it's a 3 months, and my family has got like they are depending on me. I have to take them everywhere, and that's the
I
problem.
got, I got your point. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's have tomorrow's class as well. And whenever you'll have any situation like you have to go out, okay, do let me
Yeah.
know. I'll arrange the timings. Okay, is it
Okay,
fine?
because on 28th of October,
28th of
I will
October.
yeah, I will not be available at this time.
Okay,
You can give me a time.
what time you will be available?
The same time you mentioned to me, like 6:30 Sydney time. That would be fine with me.
Okay, so no problem. Next weekend we can have a class at 12:30. That's not a problem.
Okay,
It's
that would
fine
be
with
great.
you,
Thank you.
Abhilasha, right? She's not saying anything. Yeah, no problem with her also. Okay, fine. Then we'll have a class that time. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anything else?
So far, so good.
Okay. And Abhilasha, your leap year problem, let me just quickly give you the conditions. Probably you can try it today and we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay. So, condition for leap year is, see, it's very simple. If a year is something which is like this 2016, which is not a century year. Century year means not ending with double zero. If that's the case, then it should be divisible by 4. Okay, it should be divisible by 4, and or you can say modulus with 4 should be equal to 0. This is the case. And if it is a century year like 1900, if it's a or 2000, if it's a century year, then it should be divisible by 400. So that is the condition. Okay, so simple. If it's a non century year, then it should be divisible by 4, and if it is a century year, then it should be divisible by 400. Simple. Clear? Try it. If you will not be able to complete it, we'll discuss it tomorrow. Okay, I want you to try. Okay. Okay. And regarding the switch case statement, let me end the recording.